The new director terminated me in front of my entire team. Effective immediately, she declared. I nodded respectfully and said, I hope the client presentation goes well on Friday. As I packed my desk, she asked, What presentation? I smiled and said, No worries, you'll figure it out. My name is Randy. I'm 47 years old. I've been managing client relations for Brimvale Bioworks for 15 years. When the new director Jessica spoke those words in front of my entire team, I just nodded, kept my hands steady on the conference table. I hope the client presentation goes well on Friday. I said. The room went quiet. My team, people I'd hired, trained, watched, grow from junior associates to department leads, stared at the table. Jessica's eyes narrowed. She was 32, MBA from some fancy school, brought in 3 months ago to modernize operations. Never worked a day in biotech before. What do you mean? She asked. I smiled. You'll figure it out. I walked to my office and started packing. 23 years of work fitting into 2 cardboard boxes. Photos of successful product launches, awards from satisfied clients. The coffee mug my daughter gave me that said "World's Best Dad." Jessica followed me, hovering in the doorway like she wanted to say something, but couldn't find the words. Randy, about the Hollowgate account. Not my problem anymore, I said, taping up the first box. She left me alone after that. My team filtered by one. They didn't say much. Just quiet handshakes and promises to stay in touch. Beth, my senior analyst, lingered the longest. This is wrong. She whispered. It's business, I told her. But we both knew it wasn't. The truth was, I'd seen this coming for weeks. Ever since Jessica arrived, she had been undermining me in small ways. Scheduling meetings without me, questioning my decisions in front of clients. Last week, she'd suggested to upper management that my old school approach was holding the company back. What she didn't know was that I'd been keeping detailed records, every slight, every attempt to cut me out. I'd also been preparing for the worst-case scenario, because in 15 years of managing million-dollar accounts, you learn to plan for everything. I loaded my boxes into my truck and drove home. My wife Helen was waiting with coffee and the kind of look that said she already knew what happened. How bad, she asked, could be worse, I said. But sitting there in my kitchen, looking at those boxes, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Not anger, not sadness, something sharper. Jessica had made a mistake, a big one. She wouldn't realize it until Friday morning when Hollowgate Systems called asking where their presentation was. The presentation that only I knew how to deliver. I'd started at Brimvale straight out of college. Back then it was a small company with big dreams and bigger problems. The founder, old William Brimvale, took a chance on a kid with no experience, but plenty of hunger. I spent my first 5 years learning everything. Lab procedures, regulatory compliance, client psychology. By 30, I was running the client relations department. By 35. I was the guy companies called when they needed biotech solutions fast and done, right? I'd built relationships that kept Brimvale afloat during the recession of 2008. When competitors folded, we thrived because our clients trusted me. Helen understood the demands. The late-night calls from overseas clients, the weekend trips to secure new contracts. She raised our daughter Casey while I built something that mattered, something that provided for our family and employed 63 people. But things started changing when William retired 2 years ago. His son Marcus took over as CEO and brought in consultants who spoke in buzzwords and saw employees as line items. Jessica was one of those consultants who had somehow convinced Marcus she could optimize our client engagement strategy. The warning signs were there from day one. She'd arrive at client meetings with no background knowledge, then interrupt me mid-presentation to suggest changes that made no sense. She reorganized my filing system without asking. Worst of all, she started scheduling calls with my biggest clients, claiming she needed to assess their satisfaction levels. 3 weeks ago I'd walked into the office early and heard her on the phone with someone from corporate. Randy, his methods are outdated. She was saying the clients respect him, but they need fresh thinking. I can deliver the same results with half the overhead. Half the overhead meant cutting my team. People like Beth, who had worked nights to master the Hollowgate account specifications, or Tom, who'd learned Mandarin just to communicate better with our Shanghai partners. I should have confronted her then. Instead, I did what I always did. I focused on the work. The Hollowgate presentation was our biggest pitch of the year, a $30 million contract for specialized biosensors. I'd been preparing for 8 months, building relationships with their technical team, understanding their exact requirements. Jessica knew about the meeting, but not the details. In her mind, presentations were PowerPoint slides and generic talking points. She didn't understand that Hollow Gates' chief technology officer hated formal presentations, that their procurement director only trusted vendors who could speak her language, precise, technical, no fluff. The irony was perfect. Jessica had fired me to look decisive and forward-thinking. But Friday morning, when Hollowgate called asking for Randy specifically, she'd learned the difference between managing people and managing relationships.